everyone should see the stream, hopefully, I hope. Unless something has gone wrong, then yeah, it's looking good. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. This is another indie dev chat. I am here with Vimlark, Yannick, and Zyger. We're going to be talking about our projects and game jams in this indie dev chat, so it's going to be pretty fun. And yeah, it's been a while since I've done it with 4 people, so I don't really remember how I did it. So, to start with, I guess we should all introduce ourselves. So, Vimlark, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sounds good. So I'm Nick. How's it going? I make devlogs and stuff on YouTube. I make a game called Monkeys with Guns. It's a little 4-player arcade shoot 'em up game that people seem to really enjoy the art for. I also do a bunch of like game dev challenges and just other random game dev stuff. Really, just trying to promote making games as a form of like enjoyment and fun.
Mm-hmm. And you've been doing it for a fair while now, right? I think.
I learned how to like program and make games about. I've been doing it about 3 years, I'd say. Mm-hmm. But my background is in graphic design, so I've been designing and doing art for over 20 at this point.
Cool. Yannick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Yannick. I'm also doing game dev. Surprise! Like, yeah, I do a bunch of different games. I had a long project, but I canceled it until right now. Maybe I will go back to it in a few weeks, but for now I'm doing just what comes to my mind, trying to make entertaining videos. And yeah, like the current project I have to work on is for the Ultimate Game Jam, which we are all part of. So
yeah, we're all part of that. Well,
that could also be a nice topic to talk about.
Yeah, we probably should talk about it.
Vimlark and me are in the finals, so
that's worked out quite well.
We gotta fight this out in the end.
This is actually me and Zyger's master plan.
Yeah. And afterwards, I have some projects in my mind, but we will see what I will do next.
Mm-hmm. Zyger, do you want to do the honors?
So my name is Zyger. Also, you can just call me Gabby if you want. I'm 18 years old, also doing game dev, surprisingly, on YouTube. I'm currently working on like 2 projects, which is Awoken, which is one of my like 2D sort of game. And I'm working on a new 3D project called Project Jude. And yeah, I'm just doing YouTube as it goes at the moment. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. And if people don't know who I am, because I'm sure there's people that have come from all around everyone else's places, I don't know what you would call it. I am Matt. I am also a game dev, surprisingly. I mean, it's absolutely... honestly, I cannot believe there are game devs in this school. It's ridiculous. And I am developing a game called Millions of Minions, and it releases in under 50 days, I think. So...
Now you
That's close, yeah.
No pressure.
Yeah, I shouldn't have worded it like that. Yeah. So, I guess it could be a cool idea to start off with the Ultimate Game Jam, because we've all been part of it. So, yeah, me and Zyger worked on it. How long ago was it? Like 2 months ago.
Oh,
now?
This was ages ago when we were still like new on YouTube and everything.
Yeah, we were just little hatchlings.
Well, I guess I would still consider myself new, but like this was really early on when you had this idea and you messaged me.
Yeah, because I think me and you, we collabed, and then literally like less than a day later, I was like, hey, what if we do something really interesting? And yeah, I remember like the first day we were just sort of like, okay, do we want to invite only or open? And then we went with the invite only because it just seemed like there wasn't really many invite only game jams that I've really seen. Like personally, I don't think I've really seen that many. At least from a content creator standpoint. And so yeah, that's kind of why we went with that. And originally I think we were only like thinking that I think we were aiming for 16 people at the start. I'm pretty sure we were like,
and then we were like, that's too much. and then we kind of decreased it.
Yeah, we literally halved it.
But it turned out better than I think I hoped.
Yeah.
Because it was just this new idea, and then we have so many awesome people join it. So.
Yeah, I think that's what kind of made it keep going. And obviously there was that time where between the first stage and the second stage that we just sort of forgot. And I was like, oh right, I'm just gonna make a time slot. Yeah, I think things were pretty crazy for everyone in that month anyway. I think a lot of stuff was sort of happening.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff happening for me, so I sort of just not forgot necessarily about it, but it sort of went out of my mind a bit because I was focusing on other things.
Yeah, and then Vimlark was one of the first people one of the first people that I thought of, because I've actually been watching your content for, it's been quite a while, because I think it was the making 2 games in 1 week one. That was when I first saw your content.
That was my first devlog, actually.
Yeah, so see, I've been there.
It is weird because that one sat at very low view count. No one really noticed it for a good while, and then about a month ago, it picked up, and all of a sudden it's one of my most viewed devlogs. I'm like, oh cool. I don't know what changed, but thank you, algorithm gods, I guess.
Yeah, because I've sort of watched. I think I've watched every devlog that you've made, which is quite funny.
Thank you.
I watched them as well. They're really good.
Yeah, I think it's because they're so to the point. They're not sort of lengthy, and there's some devlogs that can they feel like they go on for so long, and it's unless you keep it really entertaining.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I have a real hard time with long and not being succinct. I'm so bad to the point where when I'm editing my voiceovers, I cut out my breaths.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that
so
as well.
it just literally shoots through as fast as possible. I've kind of slowed it down because there was a point where I actually feel like I got too fast. It was hard to keep up. But yeah, I try to keep everything as snappy as possible to just not make it boring. Because I feel like if I get bored, and I'm going to be the one to get bored the easiest because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting bored with it, I need to make sure that I make it at least add some more to it at least.
Yeah, and it's quite funny because I think, we all started. Actually, I don't know. No, Zyger started. How long ago was it that you started now? It's
oh wait, let me
half a year ago now, wasn't it?
I used to make other videos on that channel though, and then I kind of changed to this and completely.
Because I remember you commented on one of my videos before you were doing content, and then I was like, hang on, this person's suddenly doing content. Where's this come from? And yeah, that's
right. Officially, I indie stuff, or not indie, game development stuff. I started 4 months ago. So.
Jeez. Yeah.
Interesting. So I saw you the first time when you did this video with Matt together. That was Zyger, and it was I thought I would know every game dev, but you can't know everyone. That's okay. Wow, and she has 1,000 subscribers. Ooh, and I haven't seen anything yet of her. Interesting. So I guess that was the first time I saw a video.
That's so weird. I didn't even know. It's weird because I don't even think that people find other people through me. It's kind of strange thinking, yeah, someone's actually found. We've all found each other through each other. It's just really weird. It's just sort of I don't even. Yeah, because back when I started, I was sort of okay, I'm gonna make devlogs Thin Matrix, because there was no other devlogs, and that was all you could copy back then. Well, not copy, that's not the right word, but...
Blackthorn Prod was also...
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
I think Matt and me started at around the same time.
Yeah. Did you start, just over a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True for me. And there were, The Matrix and Blackthorn Prod, and these were the two...
Yeah, they were the only ones,
Great people.
Yeah, and then Danny came out of nowhere.
and then Danny came and changed everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember when I I'm not sure when I met you, Yannick, but I think it was a fair while ago now, because it can't be that I don't know.
Sometimes in the past you were commenting me. I don't know. It was
I
actually saw one of Yannick's video on my recommended, and surprisingly, your video where you remade Carlson in 3D. like your most popular video. That's not the one I saw. I actually saw the one where you made the game in 48 hours in VR. And then I watched that. I thought that your videos are really cool, and like the content you do was awesome. And then I watched some more of your videos. So that's sort of how I found you, through the recommended homepage of YouTube.
And that's what's also really weird. It's like thinking people have found me through recommended. Like what? Like where's that come from? Yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to read the chat, but it's...
Yeah, it's so fast. Like I don't really. Yeah,
I think I had a major different start from a lot of you guys too, because I started YouTube 8 years ago.
Oh wow, that's a long time.
I was doing I was one of the in the wave of people doing Minecraft Let's Plays in 2012, something like that, 2011. So I did a big chunk of that. So, but it's funny because I stopped doing that under 1,000 subscribers. I was 990, I think, actually, is when I stopped making videos. We ended up moving and I couldn't make them anymore. And somehow over the 5 years I didn't make anything, it went up to 3,500 somehow. And then when I started back up again, I was going to start a new channel, but YouTube had changed the way monetization rules work and all of that. So I was like, well, I have a channel in good standing that's never had a strike, never had a problem, so I'm just going to rebrand. So I rebranded all that, figuring I'd lose a bunch of subscribers right away. And luckily, it mostly stayed the same. I didn't drop drastically, but I didn't shoot up at the beginning either. So, but I did start with a much larger looking channel than I think most people got to, which I think was definitely helpful.
Yeah. You sort of.
Nick, can I ask you how old you are?
Me?
Would be very interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I'm 34.
34. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because what do you say? I think I had a channel 8 years ago too. Yeah, 8 years about. It was StarCraft 2. So I played a lot of StarCraft 2, and I did very well at this game. So I thought, okay, why not try to teach it to other people? But this was so unsuccessful that I stopped. But this was the first YouTube experience. That was interesting. And it was also German, but I only got 20 subs or so. Not that much.
Yeah, my first YouTube experience was actually, surprisingly, it was about 8 years ago. I sort of was like, okay, I'm gonna play this Minecraft adventure. It's gonna be so cool. I went into the editing software and I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I still did it. The video's probably somewhere. It's not on this channel, but I had. Yeah, there was a couple channels beforehand, before this one. Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's I've always wanted to sort of do YouTube, but then I never really had the sort of, what's the word? I had the motivation, but I don't think I really cared for it enough, I suppose. It wasn't the content that I really wanted to make as much as I found game dev and I was like, oh, well, this is an interesting topic. So then, here I am 3 years later, and I'm doing YouTube again, which is, yeah, it's good to be back to it, I think, because it's just such a fun experience having that community management type sort of feel of it, because I've always been a sort of, is leader the right word? I don't know. I've sort of been I've got loads of leadership skills, I suppose, and that is sort of quite cool having I'm quite independent, right? So, yeah, YouTube sort of definitely felt quite cool in that respect. So,
I started maybe well, I had a really old YouTube channel when I was 11, and it was really cringy and everything. And then at 13, I made a YouTube channel literally just on Minecraft, and my videos weren't really edited. I would just upload them without cutting or anything, so it was really stupid. And then I started it was weird. I had a few channels here and there, but it was mainly just really bad content that I would upload once a month or something. So that's how I started, I guess.
I love how a lot of people just start with Minecraft. Start with YouTube. It's Minecraft. That's.
I mean, that was the birth of the Let's Play. Really, I mean, they were around before, but that was the birth of it blowing up on YouTube in terms of everybody watching other people play video games. At least that's where I got into it from. And God, Minecraft was so big at the time. I mean, it's picked back up. For some reason, my very first video I ever made, at the very beginning was a Minecraft roller coaster. That's just, it went from having no views again, and then like over the last year or two, it's blown up to like several million views. And it's like, where is this being seen? Like, this video is like, I'm still getting comments like it was made today. And I was like, this thing was made like 8 or 9 years ago.
The YouTube algorithm sometimes is just.
it's still like 1,000 views a day. And I'm just like, I don't get it. This video's been around for so long, and it's not. I mean, it's fun. It's a 10-minute freaking roller coaster. It's ridiculously long, but like, I'm surprised it's still being like picked up and seen. It's weird.
Mm. So how is your? So Nick uses you use Construct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest of us use Unity and GameMaker.
Yeah, but I've kind of moved on to Unity more because I just kind of love it at the moment.
Yeah, my first.
You guys know proper programming.
My first game engine was Scratch when I was
Same.
8. Like, I was 8 and I made
With
this. Yeah. I've been programming for 7 years now, so it's been a weird journey because it hasn't been like consistent like it is now. But like, I was always doing it on and off. Like, I think I started off with, I don't know what programming language it was, but yeah. Either way, I've always had like a joy for programming and stuff. So like using my brain, even though like I've always been pretty bad at maths, which is quite funny to me. Like I can program, but my maths is subpar. So yeah, but I think I've
been learning maths because of this.
Yeah, exactly. It's been like a learning experience for maths as well. Like kind of weird.
Does it help in school? Just for the math in school?
I mean, my grade probably went up a little bit from it. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because I started doing like really starting getting into it 3 years ago, and yeah, before then I was failing almost every maths assessment I had, but then it got to we call it GCSEs. It's like your final exam sort of thing, and it got to those, and yeah, I surprisingly I passed pretty well. So it's kind of, yeah, I'd say it probably did help because I think also logically, like the logical problems you face with it as well, sort of, it also makes your outlook on life change a little bit. It sounds really like, I don't know, it sounds weird even saying that it's changed my outlook on life, but it has, like, you know, like the whole game dev stuff, like, you know, it's really sort of changed my mindset about certain things. Yeah.
So, well, on the other hand, I've always
people are
loved
laughing
maths.
at the different way we all say math because I'm American, so I don't put the S on it. Just like, I understand why the S goes on it, and I generally try to put the S on it because it makes more sense. But just my history of saying it, I don't say the S.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
I used to actually always call it mathematics, and then when I was going to school in England, we changed it just to maths. So.
Yeah,
I guess everyone pronounces things differently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've always been here in the UK, so it's, yeah, maths is, it's weird with the whole language, like, differences that we all have.
In the UK.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the UK, I feel like depends where you are. There's literally different ways of saying things, and it's really weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, like, because I'm southeast sort of area, so I'm like near London, and yeah, you like listen to people that are like from the north, and they say like different words that you're like, what? Yeah, it's quite funny. I think it's
but you all have the big advantage of speaking English kind of natively. I think that just helps a lot. I have sometimes so many problems with to figure out how I can say certain things more differently, to have a larger variety in my words, because always using the same words is kind of boring after some time.
Yeah.
No, I agree. When because I was born in Poland, right? So I was speaking Polish, but I moved here quite early on, and then I think the fact that I did English at school, and I sort of, instead of learning English at home, I just sort of learned it through the system at school, because everyone around me was speaking English, so I had to sort of adapt to learn it. So I think that really helped me with now being able to speak more like fluent, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So how has everyone's sort of game dev experiences sort of like, have they been? Have they been like really smooth, or have you had a lot of like troubles?
No, I don't think it's been smooth as much, because I went from like programming different. So I never actually did game dev at the beginning. I sort of started with programming little programs here and there, and actually using like Visual Basic and all of that at school. And then I sort of started doing game dev because I really enjoyed it. But Game Maker, when I was using that was quite smooth, although like just had to learn it at the start. Unity hasn't been smooth. The amount of times I get really stupid errors, not knowing what the hell is wrong, and then I go on Google, find out, and try and find out what's wrong. But I guess the good thing with Unity is though, like, there's a lot of help out there on it because so many people are using it. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really like my first engine that I tried to use was actually I tried to use Unreal Engine. Like way back when I tried to follow a Udemy course. That was my first sort of game dev step, right? And literally we went through this first C++ sort of like what do you call it? I don't know, like a guide thing, and then I got past that. I loaded up Unreal Engine, saw the interface, and I was like, so I closed it and just literally uninstalled it on the spot because I actually thought like Unreal Engine was really disgusting and ugly back then, and I was like, oh, it's orange, and then yeah.
Oh, I had sort of a similar experience. I've actually I got introduced to Unreal Engine, and I thought, oh, this is so cool because apparently everyone's been using it. But I actually found it way too difficult on the interface because I never watched really any tutorials about it, so I just decided to uninstall it as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Unreal Engine is really daunting if you don't have any prior experience, like because it just looks so like big.
I know you can. Yeah, I know you can make really awesome games in it because there has been so many cool games made in the past. I think I just had the wrong sort of mindset. I should have kind of watched some tutorials, learned it a bit more, but I kind of rushed in too fast and I got really bored really easily.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to learn it, in all honesty.
Mm-hmm. So Yannick, how's it been for you?
I struggled a lot when I started. I always dreamed of making games because I thought this would be so cool. I mean, when I was really young, I always invented new board games. I just used my old board games and invented new ones. And then later, when I played computer games, I just thought, okay, making a game must be so awesome. And there must be a way to be able to do this. But I just couldn't find appropriate tutorials back then. I mean, It was like the first time I tried it, like I would say 12 years ago or so. So there wasn't really much out there. And everything I found was either too complicated or English. And when I was 12, I was definitely not good enough at English to listen to English tutorials. So I had to find good German tutorials, and there were none. Also, there was a time where we didn't have so great game engines like Unity and the Unreal Engine that was like not existing. So I tried it with some tutorials, failed, gave up. 1 year later, I tried it again, learned something and gave up again. And then I tried it again and learned again something and again gave up. And yeah, I studied computer science and engineering as my bachelor. So, and at the end of the bachelor, I thought, okay, this engineering stuff is a little bit too boring for me. let's just try to go back to game dev. Let's see what's out there, and that's where I found Unity for the first time and thought, wow, this is so much easier than back then. And now that I was already good at programming because I studied this, learning Unity was really easy.
Right.
For me, so that's where I started, and then I changed my university to have more computer science in my master. Also, we had some game making courses in my master. That was really awesome. So then we had, for example, the people who created Proton. If you use Unity, that's the tool you use if you want to make multiplayer games. The guys who developed
Yeah, I
this,
know.
they just held the lecture. That was really interesting.
Oh.
So we really got background knowledge there. It was nice. So yeah, I just started again when I already could program, and then was like, wow, Unity is so easy to use now. This is game changer.
So Nick, because you're using an engine that I have never used, how's it been?
Yeah, I'm the weird one out. So to me, programming is a means to an end, as opposed to like my goal is not to be a programmer. I don't enjoy it. It's not. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it to an extent, but my goal is not to be like the best programmer I could be. If I could somehow, someday pay someone to actually do the development programming side, I'd be so much happier. But because my background's in photography, I've got a degree in photography. I became a graphic designer after that when the digital camera, so I'm old enough that I went to college and got my degree in like doing film photography. Digital cameras started becoming a thing, or digital like SLRs, like being enough quality, started becoming a thing towards the end of my my college career. And I made the switch over into like digital retouching and graphic design. So I've been doing that for a good long while. And then again, it all comes back to Minecraft with me, because I didn't play video games before Minecraft. Honestly, I was a board game player and a like TCG game player. So once I got into that, after a while of doing Minecraft stuff, I decided I was going to retexture the entire game. Because I made
I was on stream when you were talking about this.
Yeah, so I basically did, I set myself a little stupid goal of, I'm going to put out one texture on like Twitter and Reddit. We had a subreddit, actually. Someone started posting on that again like 2 days ago. It's weird. But so we started posting a texture a day. It took me 418 consecutive days, and I finished the whole thing. To which point, Minecraft quickly released an update with like 70 new textures. And I supported one. I think I supported one more release, and was just like, okay, this is too much for me, and I kind of dropped that project. But it really made me understand kind of doing animated textures. Really showed me like, oh, this is how just single frames of animation can actually look like movement on a screen. And then I wanted to get into that, but not through Minecraft. I wanted to make my own images and have them move how I wanted them to move. And it took me a couple of years, but I saw a Humble bundle for, I picked up one for ClickTeam Fusion, which I did not enjoy that engine much. I don't like its interface. It's another visual code-based language, but I didn't enjoy the interface. And then I found Construct, and I've been kind of running with that ever since. I spent a good solid year by myself talking to nobody about game dev, just watching tutorials and just grinding, basically. After about a year, I was going literally crazy. So I found our local indie game dev meetup in my area here, and that basically changed everything for me. I found a good group of friends. It kind of pulled me into this whole community and made it more like the community aspect of just people getting together, making stuff, and wanting to see other people make cool stuff is really the main part of like the indie game dev community that I like the most. So that was really the big thing for me that kind of made that turning point of like, oh, it's not just about like making a game. Like this is about like a whole community of people that are all interested in making these kinds of games, or making things in general. So that's really been my big experience with it, is, through all of the frustration, all of the fun, at least, is picked up with, no matter what, I have people to fall back on that can help me. I can ask questions. There are so many helpful people in this community. It's amazing. So that's really where I've been. It's just, I kind of dug in and just have been trying things and hoping that they work, and trying to gain traction with other people. Like, I don't want to do anything by myself. It's like more, hey, if we're going to do something, let's get a bunch of people to do it, because that's really cool.
Yeah.
So
making
that's
games
mostly been my experience.
Yeah, I mean, making games with other people together is just the best, I think. Or at least have people to share it with.
Yeah.
Just doing it all by yourself and all alone will never get you really far. I mean, that's how I try to start it, and then it gets boring, and you don't know why you're doing this. Because even if you end up with a great game, then probably no one will ever see this, because who should watch it? But if you already, when you're starting developing, have other peoples to share it with, I think that's the best. And I think that's for all of us the reason why we also have YouTube channels.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
I mean, the irony is, are you guys mostly like me, though? Like, most of the time, I don't make games with other people. Mostly because of my engine, actually. I run into the problem of it's really hard to... I don't know a lot of other construct users, and I don't really know how the multiple people working in the same kind of construct file works. So I tend to make games by myself, but I like to do it with other people. That's why I like game jams.
There's a nice Game Dev Underground video about this topic. It's about solo developing is not... developing alone, but you're doing it and share it at the same time with other people. That's the main difference.
Yeah.
If you run a one-man game.
Yeah, Game Dev Underground. Yeah. His videos also, like, just because his videos actually are so insightful. Like, he's been pumping out loads. I'm not sure if you've seen them, but like there's been like loads of these videos on certain topics, and you're like, oh, I never even thought about this one. You click on it, and you're like, huh. It really gives you an insight, because he doesn't talk about like a specific engine. It's like really, like, I love the game design like aspect of game dev. I think it's not better, but it's like, it's more relaxing to sort of think about like things rather than just going straight into whatever you're doing. I guess it depends on what you're working on, but for example, there's this video I watched the other day there's this guy called Lost Relic Games, I think. I'm not sure if you know him, but he did a video about it was basically about like staying motivated in like game dev and stuff, right? And it was just saying like, no matter how small like the effort a change you make to your project in a day, like that's one thing. And he's basically just saying, don't have a 0 day, because if you have a 0 day, you'll like roll back down the hill and then you have to restart. It's all about momentum. Like that's all really game dev is. Like if you get out that momentum, then that's where the burnout comes in, because the burnout, I don't think, is really overworking yourself. It's more like you stop working on the project and then you don't have the motivation to continue afterwards. I think that's where most of the burnout actually comes from, rather than just working too much on a project. At least for me, that's how it works. Because if I was to take a break from a project for a day, let's say, or a couple of days, then I'd suddenly just feel like, oh, I can't really be bothered to work on this project for a while. And then it turns to 2 weeks. Yeah. And I think actually, like, obviously I got my first commercial game coming out in literally so soon now, and it's really sort of changed, my momentum with that has been like so fantastic, because I always have the people, like I've got a team there are 4 of us in the core team, and having those people also like behind your back and sort of saying, let's keep doing this because we've got less than 50 days, and it definitely changes your sort of thought process. I think working with the team for me has been one of the best moves that I've made. I have learned incredible amounts from working with the team, and it's also driven me to learn more about their coding practices. And then when you look at their coding practices and stuff, you learn more as well. And it's also helped with like project management and stuff, because as I said before, like I've always been like a strong leader sort of thing, and having to manage a project, and I have to contact loads of like content creators, contacting like journalists and stuff. It's really sort of just like, especially now, it's sort of blowing up in my face. I wasn't really expecting game dev to get like as hectic as it is. I don't think people, like, when you watch a YouTube video, you don't actually realize what's going into it, and then like when you actually get into it and you get like close to your first like release or whatever, at least for me, it's just been like, oh, wow, there's a lot that goes into it. And don't get me wrong, I love it a lot, but yeah, there are times where it's just like, oh my god, there's so much going on. And that's sort of the times where YouTube becomes like, so it's a bit difficult with my project to do devlogs, on it because of the nature of the game, because it's really replayable, but there's a part of me that is sort of like, if I give away all this info, then people are gonna they're gonna know all the secrets and stuff, and then it sort of just takes away a lot of the stuff from the game. And I think that's the bad thing about this project, is because it's not really it's linear but not linear, if that makes sense. Well, yeah, it is linear. You're always following a certain curve, and if you sort of show a next area of the game to someone else, then it's sort of like, well, they should have probably found that out themselves, because then it's like, oh wow. But yeah, I think that's like my next project that I'm planning to do, like solo, is probably going to be something completely different. I've always liked local multiplayer games. Like literally, they are, that's kind of what got me actually doing game dev properly, and I've always loved them. I always literally drench so many hours into those, and they're so, I don't know, they're just exciting because you can show off so much. I think that's where Nick's really I don't know what the word is, but that's where your project is really it really spoke to me. I don't know.
I think I'm super lucky because I don't have to hide anything. I legit, there is nothing oh no, I got, I don't want to mess with a spoiler or make a, screw up a reveal. Mine's an arcade game. Everything's open. I mean, actually, most people got really mad at me that I'm not going to be locking any content, to be honest with you. People were not happy about that. But, yeah, that's one real nice thing with making a game that is not story-driven in any way. I don't have to hide or hold back on anything I'm working on. I can show off everything, which has been really cool. And I'm interested to see someday if I start working on a different project. I mean, I'm never going to make something that's fully narrative driven. It's just not my thing. But if I do want to hide secrets or those kinds of things, it's going to be interesting to hold myself back. That's one thing I haven't had to practice any kind of restraint on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there are different kind of games you can do devlogs about, and there are games that will be very difficult. For example, if you make a puzzle game, what is your devlog going to be about? I mean, you can't show the puzzles because that's the gameplay. I think that's a big problem Blackthorn Prod had when he made his puzzle game. That
I think
was when he's doing his devlogs, it was I can't show you the real game. So these are the 5 levels I will show again and again in new polished states, but it's really difficult, and you have a really nice game for doing devlogs.
Yeah.
I wonder if for Zyger, if Woken has any parts you don't want to show, or if you're just gonna show everything.
Well, yeah, I feel okay, so I haven't been working on the game that much recently though, but there is some parts that I don't really want to show because I've made the stupid mistake of having it sort of not narrative driven necessarily, but it has narrative in it that I don't necessarily want to show everything off, right? Because then if I show everything, there's no point really playing the game as much because you know what the story's about. So I do have a narrative sort of written for the game, which I need to kind of work on, but I'm trying to sort of show other features but that. But it's kind of hard at times because, when you try and show something that you made this week, but it's sort of I can't show it because otherwise that's going to spoil the game. So it's kind of I need to try and work on things that I can show to other people, I guess. Yeah. And the narrative I add in the background without anyone knowing, so...
Yeah, I think that's sort of how our game's sort of gone, because our game's sort of not exploration. It's not an exploration game, but you're going up you're going upwards to the surface, and the environment changes as you're going further and further up, and progressing further and further. And we've said to ourselves, after the first area, nobody's seeing anything, because we just want people to be whoa, and I feel devlogs will sort of take a little bit of that away. Sure, it might not take all of it away. There'll obviously be people that would still be interested, but I think because our game still has that narrative behind it, it's kind of tough to like especially if people know the narrative, because we released a demo, and if people that play the demo and they know the narrative, and then I show them the next area, I'm like, here's a spoiler. You know, it might not be the most ideal, and it's also because, like, you know, with working in a team, there's been a lot of people that I've spoken to when, like, I'm like, oh, would you like to play our game and stuff? You know, you can download the free demo, and they often, like, if they're content creators, they'll often sort of say that I made the game, and it's like, I mean, you're not entirely wrong, but there's 3 other people that are working on it, and I don't really want to, like, take, like, you know, their sort of credit away from them, because, you know, they put, like, a lot of work into it. Because if we didn't have the artist, then yeah, our game would be disgusting. So, you know, it's a weird sort of scenario with my, like, main project, which is why I haven't shown it off as much as I really thought I would to begin with. But yeah, I mean, I still think, like, there's probably a chance for me to make a giant devlog at the end. Like, I've been working on a sort of like a history of my game devlog in the background, and it's probably going to be a pretty long one, to be fair, but it might be more like a documentary type of thing, just because I want to show people what actually goes into making a commercial game, because I know for a fact that there's not actually that much, like, content on what it's actually like from A to B. There's, like, you know, what it's like from A to B with no issues. You know, they don't show, like, the humps and the hurdles that you go over. There's a lot that goes into it, especially when you're trying to get the support from your parents. It's not been as bad now, but at the start, sure, my parents were like, you know, be careful, because you're, like, soaking this money into this project, and if it goes bad, then, you know, you go bust, sort of thing. And yeah, it's sort of, that's the daunting part of game dev, is the business side of things. The rest of it's alright though, yeah.
But I guess we're the wrong people to talk about the business side of game dev.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Released anything.
Yeah.
And made too much money. I mean, I feel a little bit bad, because there are sometimes so awesome questions in the chat, and I'm like, oh, I would love to answer them, or I would love to hear you to talk about that. But
yeah.
Let me just ask one question. I think that would be interesting. Someone asked, how many hours do you guys spend a day on game dev? And I think this is interesting. And I would ask another question to that, is how long do you take for editing and making a video? That would be interesting too.
That's a good one. Who wants to go first? I'll go first then. So I'll probably spend.
Think about this.
Probably about. I'm thinking of it. It's kind of tough. I mean, it sort of depends, because sometimes I'll have days where I sort of don't work as much. I'd probably spend around 6 hours a day of doing game dev, and that's if I'm lucky. And that's definitely increased as I've got closer to release, because then you're like, uh-oh, and you tend to work a bit more. Like, not to the point of, like, crunch.
Sorry, what about your editing?
Yeah, it takes about...
Because this is interesting as well for me, to know how long you guys spend on it.
It sort of depends on what I'm editing. Obviously, I think devlogs, they take... Actually, they used to take the longest, but now they take probably one of the shortest on my channel. Probably about... It could probably take up to 3 hours, and that's like... Yeah, that's pretty much how long it takes me to edit my devlogs. But then you get to the video essays, and they take me about a week. Because there's a lot of research that goes into those, so...
Well, for me, it also kind of depends on what day it is. I mean, recently with the whole sort of situation, I've been spending more time on game dev, I guess. But depends what game I'm really working on. On my Awoken, I probably would spend about 4 or 5 hours per day on that. And then the editing for those was a lot shorter. So I'd spend more time actually on the development, less time on the editing. But now, since I've changed to using Premiere Pro, right, which I'm glad I made that change because I genuinely love the program. I spend way more time because there's so much more you like. I personally think there's so much more you can do in Premiere Pro, so I spend more time on the editing now than actually sometimes the game dev. But I'll typically probably work on, for example, the game I'm working on right now, Project Jude, which is a 3D game, which I'm kind of not regretting doing, but there's just so much work on it. I spend about maybe 6 hours per day for that. And then I'll probably edit the video the next day, which usually takes like a whole day to edit because I'm not good at Premiere Pro, and also it also just takes for example, like I'll export render the video, which in Premiere Pro takes forever to render. And then I realized, oh wait, I made a mistake. I need to render it again. So it takes about 3 or 4 hours for my editing, I guess.
How about you, Yannick?
Interesting. Yeah, I have a really bad daily routine right now, I guess. The reason is that I'm currently should be working on my master thesis. And I'm not doing too much of that, even though it's really interesting, and I can also make videos about it because it includes a VR game. So I should make more and make videos about this. But yeah, it's like I have my whole day, I try to do something and it keeps on getting break. Like, okay, now I need to go outside, now I need to do some sport, I don't know, stuff. So it's like every day is the same. I try to get around 8 hours of work and try to split it up into my own projects and the master thesis project. But so I can't really tell a number, but editing is a real killer for me, because right now the kind of videos I make, they take really long. I already need like 1 hour to write the script for the video because I want to make it interesting, and then the recording and editing. Right now, if I try to do it in one day, I just don't do it because it's too much, and then I'm exhausted and just like I don't want to continue. So I try to split it up in 2 days and make like the script and the voice lines in one day and the editing in the next day. And I think every video just takes about like 8 to 10 hours or so. I don't know. A really nice example, I did the 50 games in 1 day challenge.
Oh, that took so long.
Oh, you streamed that as well.
And I streamed that, and I had 12 hours of live stream when I streamed it. And then I was so exhausted, but I wanted to get this video out as fast as possible because I wanted to be the first one who did it. That was the reason why I instantly made the live stream. And then the editing also took like 12 hours. This was really horrible. But I think it was definitely worth it. But yeah.
Yeah, that video, that took a long time. I remember sitting there, I was like, okay. You know, this is going to take me about 6 hours to edit. I'm here like 12 hours late. No, it didn't take 12 hours. But, you know, it took me a while. And, like, it's sort of weird because me and Yannick have kind of a similar style, I'd say. So I see where he's coming from. I usually have like a skip part of my video, and then that's the fun part to edit. So it's like, oh yeah, it's all entertaining and stuff. And then you get into like, you know, the actual like clips and cutting them out, and then you're like, oh, yeah.
For me, the fun part is writing the script and thinking, what can I tell? It's like over the whole week, I collect all the random ideas I have, and then it's just like, okay, I have these 5 ideas. How am I going to put them into one video? Let's see. And that's the fun part. And just recording it is also fun, but the editing, wow. I would love to be rich and have someone to edit it for me.
So how does everyone here script their videos? Because I know that I don't, personally.
I do.
Depends what videos, I guess. I used to not script my work in devlogs, but then I feel like even the viewers noticed it was a bit all over the place if I didn't script them. So now I script them, and I spend like at least an hour trying to record it because the amounts of times I mess up and have to re-record things and.
Yeah. I mean, I find that when I try to script it, I sound like I've just woken up, and I just sort of go, "All right, everyone, welcome to another video," and I don't know. I'm like I can improvise, I guess. So that's kind of where it's come in handy for me. And I probably take about like the maximum amount of takes it takes for like let's say like I did a skit, for example. I'll probably take about, I don't know, 4 takes, which is pretty good. And then like it gets to like talking, and that probably only takes a couple of takes. And I think I'm quite glad that I've got that gift. Is that the word? I guess it's like a gift. But for my video essays and stuff, I script those because they have to have that structure in them, and I can sound more professional with scripts, but for my devlogs and stuff, I want to sound quite, not informal, but actually, yeah, I am quite informal in my devlogs. But I like to sort of feel like I'm quite laid back in my devlogs, and I think that if I did like a script for those, because I did try to script my videos way back when, but yeah, it just didn't work out for me. I sometimes plot the points that I'm gonna write, like I'm gonna talk about, and then I'll remember those, and then I'll just improvise onto those, because otherwise, yeah, as I say, I would just sound really boring.
And I did do that I tried that for a little while, because I run into the issue of editing for me takes I'd probably say anywhere between like an hour and a half to 2 hours a minute. So whatever the video is, just add that basically, in general. So I was trying to cut down on how much I was writing a script, because writing the script is one of the longest things for me. I am not a writer. I can sit and vamp and talk. I can BS all day, no problem. But if I want to stay like succinct and concise, because I go on tangents like it's candy. So basically, I tried doing like bullet points and doing a thing on that, still running all over the place. Now I found I do one pass or so of just writing a script. So I'll just go through and it's more stream of consciousness, like I was talking, but I can go up and clean up my words. I have a tendency to repeat words a lot. So I'll use words like like 5 times in 3 lines.
I've got the
I
same
do that
thing.
a lot. So I try and go through and fix that. It even still falls through a lot. But once I get that set up, then when I go to record, I allow myself the ability to reword it while I'm recording to give it a little more like a realistic feel of talking.
Yeah.
And then I go through it, of course, I retake everything, I swear, 5 times. I've come to the point now where, for me, I've figured out 1,200 words is about 5 minutes. And when I record that, it takes me anywhere between 20 to a half an hour to get like about 1,200 words recorded to where I'm happy with, and then another hour to actually edit all that down before I even put it into the video editing software. That's just on the audio.
Yeah. I mean, my it's gone out of my mind.
Yeah, but I feel you. When I started, I scripted everything, then I went to more improvisation. And if I would do German videos, I wouldn't script them that much. But since I would have problems to have not that many words, it's easier for me to just like Google nice sentences, just to structure it a little bit better. That's why I definitely need to script to have a higher quality.
Yeah, that one I can't imagine having to do it in a different language. Like that would be insane to me. I mean, of course, I'm a dumb American. I literally know one language and I know it poorly. So it'd be hard for me to do another language at all. But I still imagine having to try and form like coherent and like well thought out thoughts in a language that you don't natively speak. Because I mean, how often do you speak English in your daily life, like around home?
Never. I mean, why would I?
Exactly. So you're pretty much the only time you're doing English is when you're doing like internet stuff for the most part, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just it. Yeah, I can't imagine how much more difficult that actually is.
Yeah.
That's why I started live streaming more. So just to have more practice on speaking English. I mean, I have the tendency to listen to audiobooks in English sometimes, so that helps. I mean, I can understand everything perfectly. That's not the problem, but understanding everything and trying to talk in that language is different. And the hardest part is humor, because if you have jokes that would be so awesome in Germany and then you try to get them correct in English, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
That's why I think my videos kind of suck, because I just try to do it anyways and try to get better at this. But hey, maybe someday in the future if I keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've been writing like stories from I was probably about 5 when I started writing, and I've been writing pretty consistently throughout. And so I think that's where my sort of ability to formulate sentences has come from, really. But it's quite funny because, like, hearing this, I actually, you may not hear it as much now. It doesn't show all the time, but I actually have a stammer that sometimes like appears, and I think it's quite funny because I don't script videos yet. Like, I have a stammer, which is quite funny. But yeah, it was really bad, like way back when. Like, I don't know, a few years ago now. But I think from doing game dev and stuff and going to conventions, standing up in front of I'd say I stood up in front of 100 people at one time, and that was like, oh, that's a lot of people. But yeah, I think that's where I think game dev has also helped me to feel a lot more confident about myself, because also with the like when it came to the convention that I went to a couple months ago, like before it started, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna say something wrong. I don't know what I'm gonna say, and I just, I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna worry about it, then it's just not gonna have the same sort of feel. So I just was like, you know what? I'm gonna enjoy, the time that I have like over here, and I did, and yeah, going to a convention has been probably one of the coolest experiences I've had. Like showing my game off to, I'd say there's probably about 1,000 people that saw it. Like, to me, that's just what 1,000 people walking past.
That's crazy.
Because there was 3,000 people over the course of the whole, like, the 3-day period. And I made some, like, really good, like, indie friends there as well, which is always really good. Like, having someone in real life that does the same thing as you is really, really cool. Because I don't think you really find it as much. Like, on the internet, sure, you'll find, we've got each other, like, here. But, it's not the same as, like, when it's, like, in person, someone having the same sort of interest as you. It feels more like, you're not just doing something on your own sort of thing, like, even though there's other people doing it. I think it's, yeah,
being able to do anything in like a physical format is ideal. I mean, I'm very lucky where I live. I live in Southern California, basically. I'm right by LA and Anaheim. So we have a huge game development scene here, as well as an indie game development scene. Like we have both basically. Like we do indie game development stuff, or like little get-togethers and play tests and meetups and those kinds of things. And we have people from AAA studios showing up because it's so close. So I get a really good insight into just the culture kind of all around, and I'm extremely lucky. I understand that. But going, like you're saying, with conventions and stuff where you have to actually like interact, and like it changes the way you look at your games when you have to watch when you're trying to show them to a bunch of people. When you have people walking by and it's like, hey, would you like to try my thing? That it changes the way you look at how people perceive games. At least in my opinion, it did.
Yeah.
Like that's why Monkeys with Guns is kind of designed specifically to be a convention showpiece. Like it's the type of game where anyone can walk up, very quickly jump in and start playing without needing to worry about it. Like I could not imagine trying to demo an RPG where you have to get in there. Like, he was like, would you like to try my game? All right, well, sit down, read a bunch of dialogue in this big convention hall, and try and follow a story. Like, that seems so hard to try and show off a game like that in like one of those large things. Like if you go to IndieCade or something like that, that's like those are large events, and it's really hard to demo a personal type game in those scenarios, I feel like. So I definitely made something to fit, that area a lot more. But it's you see how people look at things kind of walking by quickly and just like yes or no, like you can see in their eyes whether they want to engage with your game or not. It changes the way you look at people. It's weird.
And it's really weird when they look at it, they're like, and then they just walk off. You're like,
Bye.
It's the weirdest feeling, yeah.
It's
for me, I think it's quite. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, you were speaking. It's fine.
I just wanted to say it's really important to have something that is really visual pleasing just on one glance, because you have just a few seconds and people have to get into your game by just seeing them a few seconds. So I think Monkeys with Guns does this really good, because you see those crazy action with those monkeys, and the first thought I had was, oh, nice, I want to play that.
That's where the 30-second timer came from. Basically, is like if you walked up and like just kind of perused for a second, you could literally watch a whole match and be like, oh, okay, I can do that. That's fast. I can give it 30 seconds. So that's definitely designed, like by design, to encourage people to just be like, when the investment is low, so 30 seconds of someone's time. Like, I'm one of those people I think people's time is the most valuable thing they can give you, more so than anything else. So giving them a very low barrier of like, no, it's only 30 seconds, you can give it a try. And then they'll usually spend a couple of minutes playing multiple games. Versus like if you have, I mean, that's my one issue with a lot of fighting games or brawler type games is they drag a lot of them. Like you ever played a 4 or 5 player Smash game where you got 2 really good players, you're knocked out because you suck, like I do. Like I'm knocked out within the first like 30 seconds, and then I've got to sit and watch these guys fight it out for the next 5 minutes. You know, it's like that's not fun. I get bored by that. So that was one of the things I was definitely trying to counteract, of like making sure that even if you're knocked out and you're bored, it's only 30 seconds. You can people can wait generally 30 seconds at least. it's not that long.
Yeah.
Well, you guys were talking like obviously going to conventions and everything. I don't know about you, Yannick, or anything, but I personally live in like the southwest of England. So around me at the moment, there's like nowhere I can really go and show my game because no one. I live in a really small town compared to the rest of England, and I've been to like one convention before that had nothing to do with game dev or anything. But previously, when I lived in Poland and like Warsaw, which is like a big city, right? It's the capital there. There was a completely different scene, because, you know, you go out, there's people literally everywhere. Here, I can't really show my game, so I don't really have that experience of showing my game to other people as much. I don't know about you, Yannick, whereabouts you live in Germany, but that's at least my experience with sharing my game. That's why I sort of started doing YouTube, to share it online, because I don't really have anyone else to share it around with me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Hamburg. That's the second largest city in Germany, so I have a lot of people around. And I just recently looked up if there are some like indie meetups, and there's a game dev company that does such things here. How is it called again? I just forgot the name. But so the possibility would be there. I didn't do this before because I thought, okay, my games, I don't like to show them in person because they aren't definitely good enough. So let me first get something that I'm proud of to show before I wanted to show it to people. But to still get some people watching it, that's why I started YouTube. But I guess as soon as this COVID-19 thing is over and meetups like this can happen again, I would love to go to some of those meetups.
Yeah.
It would be really interesting. Also, just to get other people known who are doing stuff like this in my area. And there aren't that many, but at least a few. I think they have like 20 to 30 people in each meeting. So, why not?
Yeah, it's an amazing experience, and I live not that far from London, so it's basically not on my doorstep. It's not right, but it's like, you know, it's not too far for me to travel there anyway. But I think with like our country, Gabby, it's like there's not actually a lot of game devs that are public about it. Like, because if you were to search up, like, I don't know, I don't really know what you would search up, but you know, there's not a lot of indie meetups in the whole of England, really. There's a couple that, you know, because I've been to a convention, sure, but they're not like, there's not like that many as you would think, really. And I think it's funny how like our different locations sort of change, like how many people in a certain area and like how many people are interested in the topic. And it just goes to show that, like, you know, indie development is really new. Like, it's quite funny to sort of see, actually, there's not a lot of people doing it, really. Like, at least, like, from a mainstream standpoint, there's, like, indie is, you know, just being born, but, like, you know, obviously, something like, I don't know, like, ages ago when the first game was made, that was made by just a couple of people, because, yeah, I think that was made by scientists or something. So, yeah, so I think it's just, like, yeah, it's kind of sad to see that there's not as much as you would think. But I think at the same time, if there was too much, then it would become like too mainstream. And I think I kind of like the fact that it's not like in your face like AAA. It's sort of like it's always there, but it's not like, oh, new indie game. You know, it's, yeah, I don't know.
I think it's coming back. So I mean, the thing is, like, indie games went through a huge spike. What would it be, like 2010? So you have,
yeah.
you're talking like when Spelunky came out, Spelunky HD, Braid, Limbo. Like when a lot of those hit. It was really Xbox Live Arcade. What I didn't have it, but like that was kind of the big like point from what I understand. And then you also had the mobile boom. The mobile boom was a big thing for indie games at the beginning. Nowadays, if you're not, you know, if you don't have $100,000 in marketing, you're not doing well in mobile. But in the early days, mobile actually was the big place for indie developers to go because it was a whole new platform that was kind of untapped. But then again, we got that oversaturation. I think of indie games, we also got a really, as engines have gotten better, like Unity became free. You know, Unity's out, Unity's free. There also, indie games got a bad rap for a long time because you had so many, like, I mean, the same way people thought Unity was a bad engine for years. People have forgotten about this now. But there was so many bad Unity asset flips on Steam at one point that, like, and because if you didn't pay for Unity, it always had the Unity logo. But if you paid for Unity, you didn't have to have it. So most people thought Unity only made bad games. I've actually had that problem with Construct too. People are like, I thought it was just bad games. It's like, no, generally it's just people playing around. It's not, you know, it's not people making.
It's
like,
more the people that are making it. It's the people that are making it that are putting a bad rap on it, and I think that's, it's kind of, it shows that you got to be really competitive in the indie scene, even though there's not as much indie developers. You still need to be like, you know, you got to cooperate, but at the same time, you know, if you like aren't competing against, like, I don't know, someone with the same sort of game as you, then, you know, you're screwed. You're not gonna get anywhere. So, yeah, it's.
I think the indie scene, a big part too is just, I mean, at this point, it's about personality as well. It's a big part about, like, it's not so much where you have like AAAs. You think of like companies, like the companies, they're the ones like what you think of when it's like, okay, it's an Activision game, it's a Ubisoft game. With indies, the creators themselves become the company. In terms of like just the way they present themselves. So like you think of a game like, you know, Getting Over, it's like you think of Benefati. Like it's not even a question. You think of, I mean, there are smaller companies too. So you think of like FTL, and you got I'm blanking on their names right now. But you know, you think of like small teams. Same with, you know, Spelunky, you think of Derek Yu, like, and or anything made by frickin' Ed McMillan, like all of his 30,000 games, because the guy is prolific. But I think in the indie scene especially, it's because there's so many games out there, people follow games less and creators more. It's almost like when you get into the art world, like generally people are less about like the style of art that they like. When you get into like higher art stuff, it's more about the creators and the people creating the artwork.
How influential they are as well.
I think indie's kind of done that, especially with like the rise of the devlog on YouTube. That's become like the biggest, that's one of the fastest growing things, I think. I mean, I'm seeing countless more now than especially when I started, and I felt like when I started, it was already starting to get a little saturated.
When I started,
I have an interesting thought just right now. So you just said we have way more devlogs right now than just even 1 year ago, and do we have like right now the same thing that happens with the indie games, like these indie apocalypse that happened when everyone was doing their indie games and they were just way too much, and now we have so many people who are starting to making those devlogs, and so the question is, are there too much now, and is it more difficult to be successful?
Because I did a video essay, that was my first video essay. It was actually about how devlogs are becoming, like, you know, they're becoming so big that it's become the norm for an indie developer to make devlogs now. Like if you get into the industry, most likely you're probably going to have some sort of content creation that you do, whether that be Twitch, whether that be YouTube, whether that be as much as, like even Twitter and Reddit. You're always going to do something. And there's, you've got dev blogs and devlogs, so there's so much content being like pumped out by all these indie developers, and then you end up searching devlogs on YouTube and you end up with 100,000 results already. It's probably even more than that now. There's when I started, if you search devlogs, the only thing you'd come up with is probably Thin Matrix and Blackthorn Prod, and that was it. So it's, you can see the rise. Like I remember so vividly, like especially when Danny, I think that's kind of where it's really bumped up, was when Danny started rising, devlogs as a whole started rising, because Danny had sort of set that, I don't know what you would call it, like, that sort of content for like
I think he
indies
made
as a
it
whole.
mainstream. I think he made people who aren't into game development watching devlogs. I think before this were people who watched Blackthorn Prod. They were all developers, especially because he made so many tutorials. And the Matrix also made a lot of tutorials in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, his video style is more like this vlog style with the music and the food, and it's just nice to watch. But with Danny, it became like a new dimension. New people came into this who weren't there for seeing how is a game developed, but just to see all the fun parts he provides to the viewers.
Yeah,
And so he opened it up, I guess.
Yeah, I just saw it.
But the thing is, though, I think like there's a good part of it being more mainstream.
Yeah.
Because first of all, obviously, there's more people watching it, so more people are enjoying it. You can get a bigger audience. But then also, I think it's like more harder to get. It's a lot harder to get noticed and everything. Obviously, I think the same thing happened with Minecraft, where it was started off small, and people started watching it. So all the developers from the start got a lot more people watching it. And nowadays, or even a couple years back when it was very popular, it was so hard because everyone was doing Minecraft. So to get noticed, it was very difficult.
Yep. I mean, that's the world I started in when I started learning YouTube, and it was just like drowning in a sea of people doing the same thing. And it's kind of that way now. The one thing I do have to say though is I still encourage anybody, like, make devlogs, even if you don't want to put them on YouTube, or even if you don't care about that. Like, it's so beneficial to go back and like look at the progress you've made. I'm the kind of guy, like, I don't sit, like, I can make notes. I'm not going to read my notes. But if I take the time to make like a cool little like 3-minute video that I could watch and be like, oh, that's how far I've come over the last like 6 months, I find that to be incredibly like encouraging and motivating.
Yeah.
So like I always encourage everybody, like people are like, should I start making devlogs? It's like, if you want to be popular on YouTube, maybe. I mean, if you're gonna put a lot of effort into it, like, you can try. But I would still suggest making a devlog, even if it's just for yourself, because they are so good to go back and just have a record of what you've done.
Yeah, most definitely. And like, playing back to the personality thing, my content has sort of, I'm still doing devlogs every now and then, but now I'm doing more like broad subjects, more broad topics in game design as a whole. Not just to like, grab people's views and everything, but like also because devlogs, for me at least, like they're not as entertaining for me to create. So like that's why I tend to sort of, like, sure, I love making them and I love the end product, but then they're not as fun to me as writing, like, doing research on a certain topic and giving my like outlook on it. Especially when I wrote about like the devlogs and stuff, and like I did a video regarding like how devlogs were on YouTube, and this was a couple months ago now, and I'm sure some of the points that I made then probably aren't valid now. Like I appreciate everyone that does like devlogs, because devlogs take a long time to edit, as we said earlier. They're really amazing like once you finish them. But yeah, making them is labor intensive. But it sounds like I don't know. It takes a lot to make them. and I guess that's also why some people don't like doing the devlogs, is because it takes too much time, or they're not ready to invest that time, and that's why
it's also a lot of time you could be developing, and you're
Yeah.
spending this time on making this video instead of getting your game done.
Yeah, and I think also with that though, there's also that thing with, like, now with devlogs you can ingrain your development into the video, but obviously like now you can't really be as technical as you once could be. You know, beforehand you could be super technical and people would be interested, but now obviously, as we said, you know, it's not just game devs that are watching devlogs now, it's everyone watching devlogs now, so you've got to sort of just, you know, cater to a really broad audience, and I think that's also where it's quite tough, because, you know, there's people that aren't doing devlogs and they have no idea about game development. Like in my Discord, there's loads of artists. They know what game development is, but they don't follow game development. You know, they just know of it. And I think, like, yeah, as we said, Danny definitely made it a lot more mainstream. I think it was going that way anyway, and Danny probably just sort of got the good part of it. But then also he, you know, with his increase in like whatever it was, like popularity, like, you know, I mentioned Danny to someone the other day, and like they knew about him even though they've never even like thought about game dev ever. Like obviously they've thought about it because of me, but they never really like thought exclusively about game dev. So it's, yeah, I think it's a good thing, but it also comes with, you know, its downsides, as with everything. So I think we're just sort of going in a loop of how, you know, indie as a whole has gone. You know, as you said, you know, 2008 I think was when, you know, things like fairs and all that was like starting to like emerge, and then, you know, it sort of had this time where it just sort of was quite like there wasn't really much that you really thought of. Like when you thought of indies, you would only think of those games, and then like, you know, I think it was what 2016 things started picking up again, because you know you had Hollow Knight, I think. And like loads of indies started emerging, you know, Undertale, for example, like, you know, that took the internet by storm, like on its own. And yeah, I think indies is definitely, it's good to be an indie, but at the same time it's getting more and more dangerous to sort of devote yourself to it now. I think if you were doing it in 2008 and you had made it already, then you'd probably be in a pretty safe spot. But if you're just starting out, it might be a bit harder. Obviously you can still do really well. I'm not saying, you know, if you start now you're not going to do well, because that's not true at all. You can still do well, but I think it's just becoming like, it's YouTube, so things are more competitive on YouTube. That's just how, you know, video and content creation works. It's, you know, it's just sort of standing out from everyone else.
You know, I'm really excited to see how all this stuff will turn out that you guys are currently making, and also other games. You know, Roman? I don't know.
Yeah. He's making a similar game to me. Yeah.
In my time, and he's making a super nice looking pixel art roguelike game, and I really want to know how good this game will work when he releases it. The same for Monkeys with Guns. I'm really interested to see how successful you can be with this game, because I think this is the interesting part about this YouTube, that people are also sharing how good their games turn out. Like Tim Roswick did this, Blackthorn Prod did this. They share
they share their revenue and stuff. Yeah,
how many sales they got, so you can get a feeling of what you can achieve if you go through the same process. I think this is really interesting.
Yeah,
So,
I think a lot of sorry.
No, go ahead, answer the question. I'm gonna ask a different.
I think a lot of people that have gone into that, though, I mean, that's the one thing I've noticed. Like, indie games don't make that much. Like, I think that's the one thing that I've noticed. Like, you look at it and it's like, no, it's more about bringing, like, like I like you say you wonder how Monkeys with Guns is going to do. I don't think it's going to do particularly like astronomical. I think it'll do all right. Like there's a lot of people that will buy it and enjoy it, but one, I mean, it's definitely not the type of game that's meant to be like going to be bought by everybody because there's no online multiplayer. Like I'm not, focusing on any of that. But we see that, people are being supported to create the things that they want. People can get a much more devoted audience than just like making one game and hoping that that's the thing that's going to pay your bills until you make the next one. I think that's the hard thing to come to terms with indie games. It's like most people aren't like having that breakout hit. It happens. You get your Stardew Valleys, you get your Undertales, you get your Shovel Knights. Those ones that do rise to the top. It does happen, but I think on average, because there's so many indie games, it's a lot less. Like I mean, Broman's game is so good. If you haven't played it, I've played one of the early demos. It's so good. Billy's Nightmare is so fun. I love it to death. But it's like his will probably do pretty well, but it's very similar to something like Enter the Gungeon, which I also love to death. And I think those can do pretty well. So it depends on what format you're into. Like I know I'm probably going to do okay, like it'll be all right, but overall it's not going to be this massive successful hit where there's no reason for me to put all of my like energy and money and time into it. Like it's just not going to return the same way. But the design discussions I can have, the devlogs, the community I can build around it, around myself and the other things that I'm making through it, I find to be probably way more valuable than the actual like amount that I make on the end game. Is kind of what my expectations are. I don't know if anyone else agrees with those kinds of things, but that's what I've seen in the indie game world. Is it's like, yeah, you can spend a year or two on a game, but that's really hard when it makes $7,000. Like it's not quite enough for 2 years of dev.
Yeah.
So I've got a question, or two actually. First of all, I don't know if you guys play any games, but what are your kind of favorite games? And also, what video of yours do you think is your best video, or which one do you like the most, I guess?
He wants to go first.
Do it, Matt.
All right. My favorite game of all time is Celeste. I think it's such a beautifully formed game. It was made by like such developers, and the music is amazing as well. And yeah, that game. Oh my god! If I could meet the developers of that, then I'd be happy. I'd quit game. No, I'm joking. And my favorite video. I mean, I'd probably say my video essay is the one that I'm most proud of making, even though it wasn't edited the best. Like I don't think that it was very well edited, but I loved making, like, researching and stuff, and I love making the video essays. But in terms of comedy, then probably I don't know, it's one of my devlogs.
I guess I'll go. Let's see, so it was favorite game and video. Game, give me a day. Ask me tomorrow, I'll tell you something different. Right now, I'll probably give you something. If we're going just by hours played, the games I probably played the most would be Minecraft, which I don't play anymore, but also The Binding of Isaac and Terraria are probably two of my tops. But then, you can go way back, and I grew up on platformers like Mario 3 and Mario World, which are, in my opinion, almost perfect. So I don't know how to give you a great answer on favorite, but there's a range, because I'll cheat and just take a range. And then favorite video, I really like my two game devs in 1 week devlog, because I feel like that one is where it was my first one, but like I had been messing around with, I had made a couple of devlogs that I didn't release early, I never finished, and that one I kind of found a voice that I liked in it, and I've basically kind of been running with that voice ever since. So it's kind of was the progenitor for like the style I like.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. And with games, I actually don't play a lot of games anymore. It's like I can't play single player games. It's just I don't have the patience anymore to do this. I always enjoyed like multiplayer strategic games more, and Like as I said, I played a lot of StarCraft 2 when it came out. This was like my game. Put so many hours into it. Become like one of the best percents of players. just right under the pros who do this full time. But right now I currently don't play any games. It's really strange. And when I play games, I want to play games with other people together, because I think this is such a great opportunity to connect with other people. Just play games together. That's like what I enjoy the most. And my favorite video is my second Carlson VR video. I really love how
I like
this
that
one
one.
turned out. I hate my first one because I really rushed it, and then it became viral, and the reason I have so many subscribers. But the second one was really good, and I really hope that it would be more successful. But somehow people only find the first and the third one, and no one finds the second, even though this is the best one. It's sad. It also has the best viewers to subscriber rate. You know, people who watch this, they enjoy it, but people who watch the other ones, they are like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but okay. Yeah. How about you?
For me, well, I've got a thing with games where I played like a lot of them, like a big variety. I think I have to say League of Legends, because I've spent the most time on it. I've wasted so much time on it, though, not gonna lie, that I could have spent productively doing other stuff. But also sort of probably like Terraria, because I've spent a lot of time on that as well. But my favorite video, probably my first video, only because of the fact that it didn't get many views or anything at the start, but it's sort of what started me going and making videos and gave me the motivation. And like, just like Matt kind of said, it's not the best video I've ever made. It's actually probably one of the worst ones I have, but it's still sort of something that got me started, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's always gonna.
Always nice.
It's always gonna hold a special place in your heart, and then you're gonna watch it one day, and you're gonna be like, what did I do here? Yeah.
It's like, wow, did I really upload this? But I guess that's true for just everyone.
Yeah. So I think now we should answer some of the questions, because I know we missed the chat a bit, and it's quite hard to manage, like, talking to 3 people, talking to the chat.
I think that would be nice.
Yeah, someone asked us earlier, does starting a devlog series give you motivation in the sense that you have confirmed a project which most people are expecting an end result for?
Should I start? I think starting a devlog gave me more motivation to even work on the game. But my biggest issue at the moment is the game Awoken that I've been working on. Because I haven't worked on it for a couple of days, it's kind of been pushed aside, and I don't have as much motivation for it at the moment, which is sort of my fault, because I decided to start this other project, which I'm not going to lie, I'm enjoying more working on the other project than this one right now. But I think, if I'm answering the question correctly, because I don't know if I understood it properly, but I think starting devlogs gave me a lot more motivation to finish the game that I'm working on, but it's also kind of put this expectation on me to finish that game. I've got to finish it so that people can see the start all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing Nick said to me while we did the video together was like, being forced to put out a video every week just also helps you keep going. Just like Matt said earlier, just keep the momentum, and if you force yourself to do devlogs, you kind of need to develop something, because else you won't have anything to do a devlog about. So I guess it definitely helps to keep on going.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that a week for the same game, though, don't do it. It's way too harsh of a. I would do a devlog for a single game every 2 weeks, because doing it every week has been brutal. And I've committed to it, so I'm doing it. But it gets real hard to keep it up every single week, because you're talking about devoting a lot of time to make a whole video every week, which
and
means
then you forget the other project.
Well, yeah, well you lose your whole day for one. So like you lose at least one of the days in that week just making the video. So now you really have 6 days to actually work on it, And if you work on other things, I do a lot of game jams, like far too many game jams. So those eat up a lot of time. And having to then like, oh no, I gotta make I gotta do this real fast, or I gotta do that. I would say space yourself out a little bit if you can, because if you commit to doing something weekly, a week comes up real fast.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I used to say, okay, so the first 3 days of the week will be dedicated to development, and then the last 4 days of the week will sort of be devoted to editing and development. But then I found out that actually having this sort of consistent schedule, like it was too like well formed that I couldn't be lenient with myself. So I couldn't like have like days where, like for example, I would publish every Sunday, but now I'm sort of like changing that up because in the end, like I'd rather be happy with when I like edit it rather than just being like, oh, I'll stop. I won't edit today, but I'll edit, in a couple of days on Thursday when it gets to that point. Like that was such a bad like idea for me because it just didn't flow as nicely as I'd hoped. What else? Tips for new content creators, please. I'm scared of putting myself out there.
There's not much to say, I guess. Just do it. As everyone's first video, it will not be that good.
Yeah,
and you won't get that many views in the beginning, but just do it. Watch your videos, look what's nice, what not, and then just continue doing it and get better.
Yeah, it's just. Sorry, I just interrupted again. Well, it's just like keep the motivation going. Definitely at the start. Obviously, some people, release a video and it blows up or whatever, but that very rarely happens. So I think and it can be very like demotivating seeing that no one's really watching the video, but you're putting such effort where, and I think you just have to stay motivated because if you are really devoted to what you're doing and if you're really putting in the hard work, a time will come when someone will notice your video, even just one person. And I think that's still amazing if even one person is interested in my game, because that's at least that one person wanting to have a look at it, whatnot.
Yeah, I'd say like if you're getting one view, that's one person, like that's another if you get 30 views, just think like that's 30 people watching your content. Like that's, if you had 30 people in a room and they were all watching you, like that's a lot of people already, right? So that's how I would cope with that sort of thing. Like rather than just being like, oh, I only got one view in this video. Rather than being like that, I'd say, well, at least someone's watching the video, right? That's still one person. Like share it with your friends and stuff, and then you're done, really. Like, you'll get enough motivation and you just keep going. Otherwise, if you're too scared to put yourself out there, then you're never going to put yourself out there, and then you won't end up doing it, and the dream will just be there, and you can pursue your dream.
Yeah, I think one of the big things too is realizing that people care. Like, you look at yourself, listen to yourself, and care more about the things that you're doing than anybody else will. Even people watching your content do not notice the little nitpicky things that you 100% think are the most annoying things about yourself. I have that same issue. Like, I ran into I'm kind of old. Like, I mean, I'm not old, but like in terms of a lot of the people doing this kind of stuff, like I'm a little older, but so I didn't get I was scared to get on camera for a long time. Like I didn't, I had some video of myself like out and about, but I didn't get on a webcam and like do stuff. And then like streaming's really changed a lot of that for me of getting comfortable with it. But early on, the big thing was just, for me, because I didn't do video, was getting used to my voice. That took me a long time to get used to and listen to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And finding the verbal tics that you have, I noticed really early on.
Oh man, they are the most
back
annoying.
When I was doing Minecraft Let's Plays, I did a lot of like in between words. It was just a placeholder sound that I made, and it drove me crazy. So I've slowly like acknowledged the things that I slowly like learned the things that I didn't like about the way I talk. And then I kind of basically tried to be conscious of that and wean that out to the point where now I feel like I speak more confidently. I don't use ums quite as much. I still use them; they happen, but I find that I'm able to pause a little more, not be quite as concerned of like, oh no, there's a half a second of dead space, so I can actually clear my thoughts, think of what I want to say, and then say it. I'm still going to ramble and mispronounce things. That's going to happen, but overall, it's definitely made me more confident in the way I speak, and that was 100% just from doing it and listening to myself over and over again. Even if you don't put the videos out, do it so you can listen to it, go through the process until you feel comfortable. It would be my biggest suggestion.
Yeah, and as Andrew just said in the chat, he said practice makes perfect, and you know that golden rule, it sticks with it. It applies for this, yeah. And someone asked, how do you not get nervous when talking to a camera or a microphone? We've sort of briefly spoken about it, but yeah,
I can give a little bit extra on that one real fast because so I'm actually much better in this situation where I'm talking live. When I go to record, my mouth dries up. I get all the like sounds and like I don't know why, but it's like the moment I know that I'm recording, live streaming, doing this kind of thing, not a problem. I can sit and ramble. Once I'm recording and I feel like I need to be perfect on how I say things, that's when I start to flub stuff up and be worried. It's if you're able to take yourself out of it and be less conscious of what you're doing, of like, you know, so wholly like, I'm recording, oh no, that's, I feel like when it gets, you're going to perform the worst. So anything you can do to relax yourself while you're recording or talking to a mic is really ideal, I'd say. Just get comfortable.
Yeah, most definitely.
I really agree with that as well.
Yeah, for me,
do it again. I mean, if you're nervous the first time, do it again. And if you're still nervous, do it again. If you record the same text like 100 times, there will be some point where you aren't nervous anymore because you have done it already so much. So yeah.
I write some lines in my script. I look at when I'm editing my recording because I just usually look at the wave format and you can see, okay, this is the same line as this one. This is the same line as this one that I flubbed up. And sometimes it's like, there's 3 minutes of me recording the same like one sentence where it's like, okay, I finally didn't screw up all of it.
Yeah. I think it's funny when you also see, like, there's like this, for me, like, I take gaps if I make a mistake. I just sort of, like, I'm like, okay, just relax a little bit. It's like taking a breather and, like, thinking, you know what, all you're doing is pressing a button and you're talking. So just do that and you're done. And, like, sometimes you'll like, stumble upon your words and you'll be like, ugh, and you're like, okay, wait. And then you just sort of take a breath and then you do it again. Like, don't just go, hi there. No, that wasn't right. Hi there. And then if you like put the pressure on yourself, you'll get like too, like, you know, you'll think you're not doing good enough sort of thing, and then you'll just become too much of a perfectionist. There's going far, there's doing it perfectly, but then there's going too far with the perfectionism, because obviously you're still a human. You're not like you're not a robot, right? So there's still going to be some mistakes. Of course, try and like get rid of some of them, but don't like spend, you know, years and years doing the same line. Like, you know, as Nick said, like, you know, 3 minutes if you're doing the same line. Then afterwards, maybe just sort of say, okay, maybe if I can restructure this to make it easier for myself. It's just sort of finding like alternatives rather than just always saying the same thing. And don't, like, if you're doing scripting, don't like feel like you have to stick to the script. That's the other thing. Because if you're too worried about getting like one word wrong, what's one word gonna do? You know, if you say the same word but in like it's a synonym of the same word, that's fine. It comes off across as the same way. So yeah. A stream is more relaxed than YouTube recordings, or is it the other way around? I guess it's personal preference, really. I'd say for me, live streams are a lot more like, you can be a bit more chill, because, but yeah, I don't know. Like, for me, it's not too bad doing either really now, but at least at the start, like, I think recording was a bit weird. Like, one of my first devlogs was actually showing my, like, I had face cam on from one of my, like, I think it was, I don't know, my 8th devlog, and I was like, you know what, just do it. And, you know, I think if I didn't start early on, then I probably wouldn't have been as comfortable as I am. So yeah, it's just, as you say, it's a matter of practice, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still the only one, unlike any of you guys. Like, I still don't do any like the talk to camera pieces. Like, I don't. None of my devlogs, they are all voiceover. I don't have anything where I'm like full screen looking at the camera talking. I still have not felt comfortable doing that yet. So everything is pre-recorded where I can edit up the audio and not have to worry about like syncing it up with my face, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can edit this part where you're facing the cam as well. I mean, you don't have to be perfect when you're recording.
I think it takes a lot more setup for me. Usually on the days when I'm recording voiceover and stuff, I don't feel like making myself presentable, and I'm like, nope, I'm just doing this in my pajamas.
It's like, okay, today is recording day. I have to get ready. Finally, have to put some clothes on. I have to clean the space behind me.
Yeah.
See, I just put up a sheet. That made life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a smart thing to do.
I've got a wall, so I'm okay.
Yeah. Well,
I've got my whole bedroom.
Behind me is my like living room where my daughter and wife are usually. So it's a little easier to just be like, nope, you guys, because I mean they didn't sign up to be on camera. I did. So I definitely don't want to like lock anyone else in the house to dealing with that.
Yeah.
Usually I have my cleaning. I don't know how it's called in English. I don't know, but I have it standing at this position, and I always have to remove it when I start to record. So I don't want to be it on the camera. It's strange. Sometimes I forget it, but.
What was the most success you had with one of your games yet? I don't know.
Should we change that to maybe video? Because
Yeah.
do you mean like, because none of us have released a game, or you're releasing one soon, but
Yeah, nobody.
That's what
well,
I'm
I mean,
trying
unless they are talking about like the. I suppose the small projects also would count to it, like, the game jams and stuff you've done. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I've won several game jams. Monkeys with Guns gets downloaded a fair amount, so that's pretty cool. But overall, yeah, I've never released anything, but mostly it's just been game jams and that kind of stuff for me.
You already won those things?
You
already won game jams?
I'm doing a lot of smaller game jams too. It's not like I'm, Oh yeah, well I mean, hey, you've been beating me in the ultimate game.
Now I'm nervous for the next round because
last round.
he has his winning streak.
And to be fair, I almost legit dropped out at about 10 p.m., like 2 hours before the deadline, because I still couldn't get enemies working in the last round. So the fact that I turned something in is more of a victory to me than literally anything else.
Actually, for me, this game for the Ultimate Game Jam was the most successful because someone went really good on itch.io when I released it. It was on the popular page,
Nice.
really high for a long time. So a lot of people looked into this, and I guess I have about 700 views. I mean, it's not that much, but for me, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So I thought this is nice.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it was my first 3D project. I got my first donation from that, so that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But yeah, that was probably the one that I'm most proud of, because I learned so much from that. It was my first time in 3D, first time working with someone else properly as well, and I think it was so cool.
For me, actually, I think it was my Ludum Dare game. For some reason, like, I didn't tag it properly apparently on itch.io, which I found out, but it still did really good. Out of all my games on itch.io, it got the most downloads. It got about, I think, 200 downloads, which was really, really good for my first time, I guess.
The
Yeah.
200 is nice.
Yeah.
Think
Sorry, go ahead, Yannick.
No, I would be interested. How much downloads do you got on Monkeys with Guns?
Hang on, I can look. I realized actually probably my most successful game would be a game I made called Cross the Gap. It's actually the game I made in the 2 game jams in 1 week video, because that one actually, that and a couple of my other games, I got contacted by Cool Math Games to license and put games on Cool Math Games. So Cross the Gap is on Cool Math Games right now. That one actually finally went live not too long ago, and I think the other 2 should be up sometime soon. I haven't checked recently if they're, but so that game, I think, was probably my most successful one, because it kind of brought me in a lot more like it brought me into an actual like large platform.
Not sure if I see much else. Someone said I would love to hear a bit more about the Ultimate Game Jam. Yeah, I mean, I guess we could just sort of quickly speak about it. So me and Gabby, we made a game jam. It's a 3-stage game jam. It's not like one game jam you have a week to make it or something. It's like you have 3 different stages that you have to participate in. The first stage is actually making the game. You have 1 week to make like the base game of it all, and then the second and third stage is the you get like a mechanic and you have to try and implement that into the game. It's like a theme mechanic, really. It's not a theme, but you have to like try and implement that, and you have 4 days for those. But like after each stage, what gets you to the next stage is like, me and Gabby, we vote on who we think has the, I don't know, like we go through the spreadsheet and we just put like 3.9, 4.6, and then Gabby did some like magic and made it add up automatically, and then we get the averages.
This is on like spreadsheets.
Yeah, and then we get like the averages of that, and then whoever has the highest is obviously the first place, and it just goes along like that. But yeah, we started off with 8. No, I think it was 7 people that started off with.
Yeah, I think we were 7. Yeah.
But it was really weird. Like I remember when me and Gabby first did it, we didn't really know what we were like. We're like, okay, how do we like rank this without being really mean? It's really weird. Because it's not
that's
like
the fun thing about ranking in game jams. I have the feeling that everyone who's writing comments, they are all so nice. Like, oh wow, your game was so fun, so awesome. Even though if you just played games that literally just sucked and they were just bad. So yeah. It's like it's really hard to find something positive about this game. Still, all the people are like, oh, it was so fun, just because they want the people to rate their games and want to have a good impression.
I mean, that's the thing with
this time it was a secret vote, so you could be mean. I mean, why
I mean, I think me and Gabby were quite fair, I'd say.
I think you get into it. I mean, because I'm also there's a community called the 8-Bits to Infinity community that does a monthly game jam that I'm part of. And this last jam I did, I actually I'm now a judge with them. So I actually just did my first like judging for a full game jam. And I found like I think it's not that people like don't want to say anything mean. I think it's everyone understands the time restraints in a game jam too. So there's always that caveat of this could have been cool if I had more time. It could be cool if you had more time to put into it, or if you had more ability during whatever the challenge was to do it. So I think people try, and also the game dev community just wants to encourage people. Like, you don't want to tell someone their stuff is bad, especially when they've started their first game jam. You don't want to tell them all the stuff wrong with their game and make them never want to make a game again. I think that's something that people try and avoid. I think in like the Ultimate Game Jam scenario, all of us have been making games a little bit more, so it's a little easier to be harsher on people, but it still isn't like super harsh in terms of like well, also it's productive criticism. Like just telling someone their game sucks is not helpful to anybody. But being like, hey, it's okay, things are all right, but these are the issues I think that are wrong. Here's the things that were working well. Try and emphasize the things that were working well. That's going to help someone a lot more than just telling someone all the things wrong.
Yeah. So I think the guy, Todd or Outer Studios, he messaged me and like he asked for feedback on the game, and I thought that was like really cool. Like someone, they was actively seeking the feedback as well. I thought that was really good. And yeah, I gave him the feedback and everything, and it was really cool. But yeah, I'd say the Ultimate Game Jam it's really different to host, because I've hosted I hosted a game jam and I've judged a game jam before, and it's a lot different in this sort of like setting, because it's definitely a bit more like, you know, you've got to sort of be, because it's an elimination style thing, you're like, okay, you know, if this person doesn't make it to third place, they're gone, sort of thing. And it's like, God, it's so
You feel bad
weird.
for them,
Yeah.
or-
Yeah. And like,
Interesting.
especially when it got to like the, you know, you two now, it's like, me and Gabby just, we didn't really think it was going to actually go as far as this, to be fair. We were sort of like, you know, it'll probably sort of be, I think originally it was 3 different game jams we were going to do, but then we thought actually it would make more sense to sort of have, you know, one giant game jam. And I think that really turned out a lot better. And also looking at everyone's like, is view count the right word? I don't know. Like, all of the Ultimate Game Jam like submission videos and stuff that people have made, they've all done pretty well, I'd say. I was looking at Dual Wielded, I believe, and he was getting 300 views on both of them, and he's at 100 subscribers. So it's like, you know, clearly people are interested in this Ultimate Game Jam.
And I think it's a really good title.
Yeah.
It's a clickbaity title for sure. And I mean, it really is like it's got that.
Yeah.
And then I think when you get a bunch of people, all of the cross promotion helps too. I mean, it's definitely the highest viewed game development video on my channel for sure.
Yeah,
Is it?
exactly.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, didn't yours get like 25,000 or something?
Is it like 30,000 right now?
30,000.
Something like
Oh
that?
my
Wow.
god, me and Gabby literally looked at that the other day, and it's like 24,000. Yeah.
Yeah, because we were like, what's it called, judging the games, which I personally find really hard as well, because I feel like not every category is always suitable for that game, but you sort of
Yeah.
have to keep the same categories to, I guess, be fair in that way. But we were looking at other people's videos on it, and all of them were doing really, really good, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because it's like we weren't really thinking it was gonna get that far, and both me and Gabby, we haven't actually made a video on it really, which is quite funny.
I was wondering if you are doing videos about this.
No,
At the end,
all
we
people made their videos, but I thought you would do something like where you give feedback and do the judging or so. But
yeah, we're doing a
Well-
video at the end. Me and Gabby, like a collaboration one, I think. I don't know.
yeah, I think my biggest issue was the fact that when everyone was finishing like round 1 already, I was just so busy with other things, and it
Yeah.
didn't really make sense for me to make a video halfway through. So I sort of wanted to wait till everyone's game was finished to the best that they can. And what I'm gonna probably do is wait till everyone finishes it. Well, till this round finishes, right? And make a full video going over the games, and probably be quite a lengthy video. I just want to spend some time on each of everyone's games and obviously talk about it and everything.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there are a lot of
Situation.
games, so this will take.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 8 submissions overall. So yeah, it's an interesting sort of like experience for sure. Like I don't think like it was really envisioned to be something that was going to be as big as it got to really. Sure, it's like not huge, but it's like a pretty big game jam, because there's like, you know, the average game jam you see is either, you know, a Ludum Dare or making a game in a week or something like that, right? And having something new to the table, I think, has probably helped for us. And people asked, how do you select participants for the Ultimate Game Jam? And was it only for YouTubers? It's only for YouTubers, yeah. I mean, maybe eventually we'd broaden that out, but I think because of the nature of it all, and like the fact that everyone sort of has to have like time management sort of understanding, and content creators are obviously going to already have that. And I think just making sure everyone knows, you know, like people can start at different times. That's the thing. Not everyone starts at like one time, which I'm not sure if we're going to like keep that or what we're going to do with that. But I think it's a good idea to have that leniency for people.
I think you should keep that, because this makes this game jam unique.
Yeah.
I mean, if everyone could participate, it would be just like every
Yeah.
other game jam.
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
this part, think makes it more interesting, because everyone does make videos about this, and there are not that many participants. I think this is what makes this game jam stand out, and so I think we should leave it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me and Matt were actually talking about whether we should open it to other, because we were trying to like talk about whether should it be. I think it was like the other day when we were judging the games. We mentioned something about should we open it in the next season to other people, but it's sort of the thing that it's more unique, obviously, if it's just content creators and if it's kept to this sort of small number. And also, as Matt just said, the nature of the game jam itself, it's spread out. Everyone can choose when they can make their game, because we know that people are busy and they can't necessarily always make it at the same time. And if we were to open it to everyone else, it would be kind of difficult to keep track of everyone's game submissions and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And yeah, it's I don't really know how we select the people. If you've made an impression on us and we've seen your content, you'll probably get like, maybe you'll get an invite sort of thing. Like, I already knew about Vimlark, I already knew about Yannick, and I knew about Dual Wielded, Tons of Fun, Artindi. It was all about the people we knew, really, because also those are the people you're gonna trust more if you actually know them. Like, I'd rather invite someone that I have watched their content of rather than someone that has just like said, "Oh, can I join?" I don't know. So yeah, I think that answers the questions, and I think really oh my god, I didn't even realize how long it was. It's been 2 hours since we started, so that's it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's the longest podcast episode so far.
We already lost some viewers. We started at about 40, now we have 26. We should include some puppies or so people keep watching.
Yeah.
Gabby, you have a dog?
I do have a dog, yeah.
Get it into the camera. So
get him in, wait.
People keep on stream.
My dog's
need to have interesting stuff.
Shall I get my dog as well? Might as well join the trend. I'll be right back.
So chat, I would like to... Is someone who watched the whole thing from all the 2 hours? That would be interesting. Yeah, now we have dogs. So...
Right. I don't know if he's gonna want to...
if you want the fame.
Does he want to look at the camera?
Okay.
No, he just wants to...
Ow.
Yeah, you see, we already got 2 new viewers. Seems to be working.
That lasted a long time.
They have dogs, and now we are at 28.
Hey, it worked!
It worked. Like animals do always work.
Yeah, my dog's too much
Just
for...
like I loved the video of you, Gabby, where you let your dog choose how much time you get for the
my god, yeah.
But this was an awesome idea.
The thing is, though, I was worried that my dog was actually going to choose, the closest treat or whatnot. So off camera, I decided to test it a couple times to see if he did actually, choose the same one. And it was really weird because he didn't choose the first one every single time. So, but in the video, he did choose the closest one, so everyone assumed that he would always pick that one and stuff. But...
Could have recorded it every time until he chose the right one. No one will notice.
People are saying dev dogs. Maybe that should be like a series. The dev dogs. My dog makes a game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's like a guy on YouTube who's did like my dog plays the piano. I teach my dog to play Minecraft.
Yeah,
I did a couple
these are some interesting videos. Yeah, I saw them. I don't know why this got recommended to me, because I didn't watch anything like this previously, but somehow YouTube decided, hey, you want to see a dog play Minecraft? Yeah, why not? Sounds interesting. So now let's get a video where a dog makes the game.
Okay, what? Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Okay, next week on the Tabulous channel, Dev Dog.
I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Yeah. Well, I think that's...
I'm free, no dog.
Yeah, I mean, having a dog's nice, but they're a bit... I mean, at least my dog's a bit crazy, so...
Yeah, well,
my
we're
dog's
just
a
in
lot of
apartment, we don't
work.
have a good spot for a dog, so
yeah.
It wouldn't be kind to have one.
Mm-hmm. Well,
for us, it's kind of good, because we've got loads of fields around, so we go on
right,
walks,
yeah.
But...
Well, it's been great having everyone here. It's been really cool, sort of like having 3 other people again. Maybe we'll have a revisit one day. I don't know. We'll have to see. But hopefully that would be pretty cool. And
I would like, because I enjoyed this.
yeah, I think we're. I don't know I don't know what the word is, to be fair, but you know, it's a cool little group, I suppose. And yeah, so thanks to everyone here who has, you know, joined me on the chat. It's been really cool. And everyone, go to their channels, subscribe to them. And is there anything that any of you guys want to like sort of like shout out or anything like that?
I think I'll jump in and ultimately say, I think we're all kind of in the same boat of it's just really cool to see people making cool things. So hopefully everyone else out there is safe and healthy and making fun stuff. And people are asking in the chat, like, how do you get part of like the YouTuber community? Just real fast, just make stuff and be part of the community. Go comment on people's videos. Go just chat with people. Don't make it weird.
Don't be scared of us, right? Like because I know for a fact there's some people that like are hesitant to message certain people because they're like bigger than you, right? Well, you know, we're still people. We're not like we're not like gonna murder you, you know.
Also, we are right now on a stage where we can read everything. I guess it's difficult to reach out to people like Danny. He won't read your message because he probably get thousands of messages every day, and that's not possible. But
yeah,
like people in our size, that's totally possible to just write. If you have questions, ask them.
Yeah.
Even just be consistent, you know, comment on people's videos, join Discords, talking, you know, like if you're part of the community, you'll get noticed. That's kind of the biggest thing is like, you're not going to just like start and have people know who you are. You have to, you have to
earn it.
You just have to be part of the community. If you want to be part of it, you have to put in the effort as well. It's not just going to come to you. So try that. That should help.
Yeah. All right. So I'm not sure who we're having on next week. I'm gonna have to try and find someone. So that's gonna be an interesting experience trying to find that in like less than a week. But yeah, thanks everyone for dropping by.
Yeah, thank us.
Wait, actually, there's one thing. There's one thing that I have to do for the indie dev chats because I missed it out last time. So at the end of these, usually I high five the guest. So how about me and Vimlark, because we're at the top. We'll high five. And Yannick and Gabby will high five. Alright?
We can also make like a on top high five. So we have a square.
Oh god. So like this, right?
Like this.
My view is different. I don't know where people are.
This is the wrong side. Wow.
Yeah, my view is different. I have no idea where you guys are.
If you double click on us, you should.
There we go. Pop out. There we go. Wait, Matt, you're facing the wrong way.
I'm facing the wrong way.
Gabby, you're also the wrong direction.
Am I?
Yeah. You know it might be.
I'm pretty sure it's
for
not
me,
okay,
wait, no. For me, it's different. For me, your hand is right here.
But I'm looking at the stream, so.
Do I have to do that?
Oh, okay. Look on the stream, right?
You gotta look at the stream.
Yeah.
Boom. Wait.
Oh wow, that's the.
Oh, that's really difficult.
Yeah. That's the best I can do.
You look like you're doing a dyslexic YMCA.
They're not wrong.
Oh, that's great. Alright.
If we want to make it better, we could even make like a heart shape, but that would be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I don't think we have the skill. Yeah, like
you're talking a lot of coordination.
maybe if we do this again in 2 months and every one of us have 1 million subscribers and we do the reunion, then we will do the heart.
To say a thank you to everyone.
to say thank you to everyone, yeah.
Alright. That's it then.
Alright. Yeah.